So now let's bring in our next guest, Curtis Ellis, the Senior Policy Advisor at America First Policies. He previously served as Senior Policy Director for the Donald Trump campaign. Curtis, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You know, Curtis, I kind of feel a little bit like Paul Revere riding down the range saying the recession is coming, because the economic revival that President Trump has created an employment environment that every president in history would be continuously envious of in a remarkable way. And so I see a lot of the things that he's contributed today to deregulation on employment and also the tax reform and the economy growing at the same time. But does President Trump, does he really have a touch where everything turns to gold with employment? I mean, is he really responsible for the turnaround in all of these record-setting unemployment and employment issues in our economy?
Absolutely. That's funny, a touch that turns everything to gold, because if you look at his trademark building career, he does like gold, and it does seem to be carrying over now absolutely into the economy. He had a plan for tax cuts, regulation cuts, trade reform, and energy reform. That's what he laid out during the campaign. He has pursued that assiduously here, and that's what's responsible for the huge economic growth we're seeing, for the economy catching fire. It's this combination. If you cut regulation and you cut taxes, we're now competitive with the rest of the world. You level the playing field through trade reform so that people aren't getting a free ride off of the United States the way they've been. It makes more sense to invest in the United States, and we're seeing that. And then with energy, we're now the dominant energy producer in the world. All of these things are working together. We do have a problem, and it's a problem that most people would want to have, which is there are more job openings than there are people to fill them. I mean, this is a luxury problem.
You know, it really is, and I could just imagine what the job numbers would be like if we were in an era where we didn't have an aging population. To achieve what we've achieved what he's achieved is absolutely remarkable. And so we've seen corporate tax rates drop dramatically, where we can actually level the playing field, which is a phenomenal thing he's done for our businesses. But I think only a businessman could really understand the need for that, because no politician in history's ever been able to resolve this problem.
Exactly right. You see, we have a businessman in the Oval Office now. For the previous administrations, I don't know how far back you'd have to go. We've always had people who've learned about this stuff in a textbook. They read, and actually most of the presidents haven't even learned about economics in a textbook. They rely on some aides who read something in a book somewhere a long time ago, who told them about an invisible hand, or told them about comparative advantage or competitive advantage or some such theory.
Well, Curtis,
President Trump knows what it means.
So it's true that presidents are only as good as their training, and if they haven't had the training in business, they can't help business. So on that note, we're going to break. Curtis, I want you to stick around. We'll be right back with more in a minute. Welcome back to The Income Generation. I'm Jeff Small, and we're here with Curtis Ellis, Senior Policy Advisor at America First Policies. Curtis, thank you for sticking around.
Hey, sure thing.
There's been a lot of talk of productivity on the economy lately, and the jobs numbers are phenomenal, but I see a rising threat from the left. And if we have a problem in the elections and we seem to go to the left in the House and the Senate and the presidency next term, what do you see? Do you see socialism as a threat to our economy and productivity and jobs across the board? How do you feel about that, Curtis?
I think there's a very real danger of strangling the recovery that we're seeing, strangling this booming economy. All of the Democratic candidates seem to believe that government should be dictating the economy, whether it's how much people get paid, where you get to go to the doctor, what you buy. And they're engaged in these regulatory schemes that are just going to strangle and stifle the economy. Look, President Trump has deregulated the economy. The left believes in re-regulating the economy. They want to hike the tax rates and then take all that money and hand it out to people. They think this is the way to prosperity, and it's not. President Trump has managed to raise wages without a government mandate. So many companies are now paying over $15, while the left is still stuck on this idea that we're going to pass a mandatory $15 minimum wage. And that's the least pernicious of the proposals that they're pursuing. So there's a very real, their whole ideology, again, these are people who have never done business, never been in business. They read something in school, and unfortunately, it was the Communist Manifesto. So they think that's the way the world and the economy should work.
That's a really scary thought, Curtis. I think when we take a look at some of their philosophies and what they're basing it on, what we end up seeing is people with no practical experience. They don't understand how money works. And to be honest with you, with what's being discussed right now on the left side of the equation, we don't have any money next administration. The budget's going to have to be cut across the board because the debt service is going to become so large. We're hitting a financial pinnacle. And so all the things that they're promising and saying really can never be delivered. And a lot of them know it. They know it. And so I consider it the greatest political lie of all time and the fleecing of the votership's minds for a vote. Unfortunately, that's what it's come to, correct?
Absolutely. They promise free things. They're going to give free things to everybody and buy a vote with your tax dollars.
Well, Curtis, listen, I want to thank you for the commentary today and your input. It was a pleasure having you on as a senior policy Trump campaign advisor. We'd love to see you again sometime. Thank you for joining us.
Anytime. Thank you.